Australia will join the US and the UK on a mission to protect oil tankers from attack by Iran in the Strait of Hormuz. Scott Morrison says it's in Australia's interest and not a part of America's bid to force a rewrite of an Iranian nuclear roadmap.
The sea lanes of the Persian Gulf are now dangerous waters after America ditched a hard-won international deal to limit Iran's nuclear plans, imposing crippling sanctions, and Iran hit back by seizing merchant ships.
The Ayatollah has gone all in on a campaign of extortion diplomacy.
And Australia has answered a British and American call to protect oil tankers and cargo ships.
15 to 16% of crude oil and 25 to 30% of refined oil destined for Australia transits through the Straits of Hormuz.
A frigate and a surveillance plane will be sent and some military planners to join the Allied mission.
The disturbing new headline after El Paso and Dayton tonight, news of 3 new threats. 3 new arrests. Authorities say these threats of mass shootings in 3 separate states. Police in Florida handcuffing this 15-year-old boy with his mother by his side. He's accused of threatening to take his father's assault-style weapon to school to shoot several other people. These new arrests come on the heels of 3 other threats, at least a half dozen in the last week. The FBI warning about a rise in domestic terror and possible copycat shooters, and authorities believe this is proof of that.
You're watching police body cam video of a 15-year-old Florida boy whose face has been blurred being arrested in front of his mother by 2 officers for allegedly threatening to shoot up his school. Authorities reading that threat aloud to the teen and his mother.
I, Dalton Barnhart, vow to bring my father's M15 to school and kill 7 people.
He didn't do anything wrong. Yes, he's 15, but he's still a little boy, and he's not one of the crazy people out there doing stuff.
Tonight, police releasing the 15-year-old's mugshot, which we've blurred. His comment was reported to the FBI. A written threat is a second-degree felony in Florida.
A surprise. That's what the Danish royal house is calling US President Donald Trump's abrupt cancellation of a state visit in 2 weeks' time. It came after Mr. Trump floated the prospect of the US buying the autonomous Danish territory of Greenland, an idea that Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen said was absurd. Well, Mr. Trump announced the cancellation of the visit, of course, on Twitter, where he said, "Denmark is a very special country with incredible people, but based on the Prime Minister's comments that she would have no interest in discussing the purchase of Greenland, I will be postponing our meeting scheduled in 2 weeks for another time." The Prime Minister, he says, was able to save a great deal of expense and effort for both the US and Denmark by being so direct. I thank her for that and look forward to rescheduling sometime in the future.
Meanwhile, Hong Kong Chief Executive Carrie Lam has promised to set up a platform for dialogue as well as an independent fact-finding task force to investigate police violence.
Her comments come after protest organizers say around 1.7 million people braved the rain for a peaceful demonstration on Sunday at Victoria Park. The turnout came amid increasingly severe warnings from Beijing.
Mrs. Lam hopes the rally marks the beginning of the city's return to peace.
啱啱過去嘅星期日，好多香港市民喺維園參與集會，大致係和平進行嘅。我喺呢度衷心希望呢個係社會回復平靜、遠離暴力嘅開始。個目標呢，就係希望我哋能夠努力咁去化解呢啲分歧同埋矛盾，透過呢個對話，互相嘅諒解，一齊走出今日嘅困局。
This is where Simon Chung was due to arrive 12 days ago, on a train from mainland China. He never made it to Hong Kong. The last thing he messaged his girlfriend, according to local media, was, "Ready to pass through the border, pray for me." We haven't been able to independently verify the messages. He has apparently been detained in China since then. The 28-year-old Hong Konger was on a business trip to the neighbouring city of Shenzhen as part of his work for the UK consulate in Hong Kong.
He didn't do anything bad. or anything illegal inside mainland China. Actually, his family members and girlfriends has been upset throughout the days because they don't have this kind of experience before, and also I think they worry about the safety of Simon. The only way to keep him safe is try to urge the Chinese government to release him as soon as possible.
Urgent manhunt in California at this hour. A suspect wanted for the stabbing death of a former administrator at Cal State Fullerton. Surveillance tonight showing the suspect right there dressed in black running from the scene in a parking lot. And what police found under the victim's car, the suspect's backpack.
Tonight, police releasing the surveillance video of who they say is a killer on the loose. The first images of the suspect in a violent homicide on the Cal State Fullerton campus. Authorities say this video shows the suspect running from the parking lot where 57-year-old Stephen Chan, a retired college administrator who was working as a consultant on campus, was found on Monday, bleeding to death from multiple stab wounds. Police tonight releasing this sketch of the suspect, an Asian man in his mid-20s with black hair wearing dark clothing. He was seen driving off in this black, newer model BMW.
"19 days of sitting on a crowded boat with little food and water. Now the migrants who were stuck on board the Spanish rescue ship Open Arms have been allowed on Italian soil. Conditions on the boat had become increasingly desperate. People had been cramped on board with dwindling supplies tantalizingly close to shore. Some could not take it any longer. At least 15 people are reported to have jumped overboard before they were allowed to disembark. Italy's fiercely anti-immigration Interior Minister Matteo Salvini had resisted pressure to let the migrants off the ship, drawing condemnation.
Rescued people should not be used as hostages for the purpose of political point scoring.
There are over 350 people whose home has become Ocean Viking. And the people on board have said we're treating them. They've got war wounds. Some are affected by chronic disease. And the conditions on board are cramped and getting worse. We can see, if we use marine traffic, exactly where the boat is. It had been much further down here in the Mediterranean, but it's moved up into waters. And you can see it's not too far from Malta, but also Lampedusa, where Open Arms was able to dock. And the actual deck of the boat is papered over with lots of drawings like this that people on board have drawn. They say these are the drawings of our rescued people, 356 survivors. This is testimony to their humanity. The time to disembark is now. And from MSF, who've been tweeting from the dock as well, they say Europe must urgently put its plans into action. They call it an embarrassing cycle of disembarkation deadlocks, because while Open Arms has been able to disembark, Ocean Viking is still out at sea.
South Korean carrier Korea Air has followed other local airlines by deciding to cut flights to Japan. The ongoing boycott against Japan is seen as the main reason behind the move. Our Seon Kyung reports.
Korean Air said on Tuesday that it is suspending some routes to Japan starting September this year. Flights from Busan to Osaka will be indefinitely suspended from September 16, while routes from Jeju to Narita as well as Jeju to Osaka will be suspended from November 1st. Some other routes to Japan will be halted temporarily. The national flag carrier plans to stop services on the Incheon to Komatsu and Incheon to Kagoshima routes from September 29th to November 16, and a flight on the Incheon to Asahikawa route from September 29th to October 26th. In an effort to offset lower customer demand to Japan, the company has decided to increase the number of flights to alternative destinations, including China and Southeast Asia.
Rising from the sand and the sea, Qatar's latest World Cup stadium is coming to life, one shipping container at a time. Sustainability is the main focus for those building the Ras Abu Aboud Stadium in Doha. All its components are recyclable, and the life-size building blocks are arriving to port, filled with all the materials that will eventually hold them together.
Inside the stadium, do you know that it's a container stadium? Can you tell from the inside?
From inside, they will notice mainly the hospitality boxes, which will have the finish of the container.
The containers will be used to make up everything from the stadium's bathrooms, offices, and restaurants, but always with an eye on sustainability.